We have explored the Paleolithic age, the age of hunting and gathering during the Ice Age. We explored the birth of agriculture in the Neolithic age and the great advances of settled communities. We have explored the equestrian age with the domestication of the horse and of other species of the camel and the African donkey, and the role that those animals played in transforming societies and even creating the recognizable state or early empire. Now we enter the classical age. This is a vast period of time from around 1000 BCE to around 1500 AD. That is 2,500 years in which the great empires of history emerged and played their role. And this was a period of fundamental transformations of culture, of language, of religion, of state organization. In fact, the term classical that we apply to this period, classical means the greatest. And so ever since the classical age, leaders and thinkers, philosophers, daydreamers have looked back to the Roman Republic or the Roman Empire or the classical age of ancient Greece as the pinnacle of kind of achievement of civilization. We're talking about a classical age over a very, very large expanse, mainly in the lucky latitudes of Eurasia, stretching from the regions of the west of Eurasia, where we'll visit the sites of classical ancient Greece and the Roman Republic, and then the Roman Empire, still the emblem of greatness of empire until this very day, and we'll move across from west to east of Eurasia to the great empires of Central Asia, which we've already begun to visit during the Equestrian Age, and to the great empires of India and East Asia, especially the empires of China. And the Han Empire, which was the contemporary of the Roman Empire, stands as emblematic, a foundational empire of Chinese civilization, and one that would be looked back upon as a great classic age, that is a pinnacle of achievement. Now, this long period from 1000 BCE to 1500 AD was a period not only of momentous change, but of momentous achievement in every area that we are considering. Certainly across technologies, in building materials, in vast infrastructure, in the Roman roads, which have lasted for 2,000 years because they're so well designed, and of course the Roman amphitheaters and Greek amphitheaters that we can still find around the Mediterranean world, built to last. This was an era of incredible breakthroughs of learning and of communication. This was the period in which the alphabet itself is invented, and book writing becomes a fundamental breakthrough in the organization of knowledge and in the worldwide transmission of knowledge. And during this classic age, the great philosophical traditions, the wisdom traditions of the ancient world of Greece and Rome and the Middle East, of Persia, of India, of China, come into being, and amazingly enough, almost at the same time, simultaneously, the birth of great wisdom traditions across the expanse of Eurasia, so profound, so insightful, that they became the very bases of our civilizational self-understanding, and until today have helped in fundamental ways to organize our thoughts about the role of government, about politics, about power, about ethics, and about how we should live in this world, for what purposes, how to achieve happiness. So the classical age is the age of classical philosophy, classical wisdom, classical thinking about fundamental issues. It's inescapable how vast, how deep, how meaningful, how powerful it remains for us today. I want you and us together in this course to breathe deeply of this classical age, to understand its greatness, its vitality, its ingenuity, its innovation, and its diversity across the world. And in our case, we'll be focusing across the Eurasian world and a number of the classical empires of the ancient world. We'll be looking at ancient Athens. We'll be looking at ancient classical Rome. We'll be looking at the Mauryan dynasty, Mauryan kingdom in India, in northern India. We'll be looking at the great Persian empires. We'll be looking at the Han dynasty, which really created the unified state of China, which in essence lasts until today. So one of our goals is to understand those civilizational achievements across the great expanse of Eurasia. Another is to understand the breakthroughs in governance, how empires work, because this is the first period of vast multinational empires, empires in which peoples of many languages, many cultures, many religious beliefs were brought together. And so this was a period of great mixing, great cultural diversity, and a great question of how that diversity should be managed within society. This is a period which gave rise for the first time to the Western concepts of democracy, with citizens standing in the public square and having their voice and their say, or sitting as jurors in public court deliberations. Ancient Greece remains until today a benchmark of democracy and democratic institutions. The word democracy itself meaning demos, the people, and ocracy meaning governance, governance by the people, is an ancient Greek word that remains vivid, alive, debated, deliberated upon until today. We'll talk a lot, and I want you to appreciate the intermixing of these societies, because after all, this is the fourth age of globalization. So it's not merely the independent empires or wisdom traditions or philosophical viewpoints across Eurasia, but it is their vast and deep interaction that interests us. And one of the reasons of that intervention was war and conquest, which brought vast and highly differentiated populations together under one political rule. The conquests of Alexander the Great in the 4th century BCE, which brought under one rule, under Alexander's rule briefly, peoples from the Eastern Mediterranean, from Egypt and North Africa, from today's Turkey, Mesopotamia, Iraq, Persia, Pakistan, India, Afghanistan, places that still have cities named after Alexander or cities that he named until today, meant that a vast, vast stretch of Eurasia fell under the rule and under the pervasive and powerful influence of Greek thought in the Hellenistic empires of Alexander and then of the successor states that followed Alexander. The Roman Empire, of course, for the Western world became the standard of classical excellence and grandeur. And it's not by coincidence that even the term to be a Caesar, to be a leader, or to be a Tsar, or to be a Kaiser still is the word that comes from the rulers of the Roman Empire. That has remained until today the standard of Western power in its way. And so understanding the Roman Empire and how it transformed all of European history and how it reached into Asia and how it interacted over long distance trade with the Han Empire, contemporaneous with the Roman Empire, is part of our learning in this class. And to understand that, we will visit some of the most amazing and iconic sites imaginable, some of the great UNESCO heritage sites, the places of the golden age of ancient Athens, and especially the Acropolis and the Agora and the other meeting places of ancient Greece in the age of Pericles. We will follow the trail of Alexander the Great from his early school days when he was tutored by the greatest thinker of the age, in my view, one of the handful of the greatest thinkers ever of humanity. Of course, I'm referring to Aristotle, who was the tutor of young Alexander, after which Alexander went off on his conquests of Egypt and Persia and his attempts to conquer all of the world in the 4th century BCE, and the transformative effects that those conquests had throughout all of history until today. And of course, we will visit Rome, and we'll see the great sites of Republican Rome and Imperial Rome that followed, the Roman Forum, the iconic Colosseum, the grandeur of Rome, the unbelievable building capacity and infrastructure of the Roman Empire that enthralled, inspired, and still captivates us till today. So we are in the 4th age of globalization, the classical age. We're going to see some of the classical sites across Eurasia. Today in this class, this is about the Western classical age, and of course this grandeur that we'll now go visit we'll also see in the grandeur of the East in the classical age.